Give him your word and he'll give you a reason to keep on giving it. Give him your fist and he'll give you a bear after you run villains off. Galtoz, your numero uno peacekeeper of the dimensions and the stars who is always one swift body slam away from the best party of your life. He likes to welcome new heroes to the fold with a big old grin, a big old hug, and a big old endurance test. He can take care of anyone during any high-stakes operation. They often call him the Babysitter because he welcomes in new heroes so much. It shouldn't be a mystery or a guess if he's going to be on a planet or space colony making a lot of noise as he uplifts justice. So ask about him whenever you hit up the bounty board. You won't ever regret it. Yep, it's your favorite N-word, Terrence Prescott Barnes, and right now it's Galtoz's characterization sheet. Birth name, Michelangelo Pruitt. Superpower is heaven. Fighting techniques are Shotoken and Bull. Weapons of choice are a spirit doll and a spirit spear. The Amarowite Knight and Healing Archangel. Angel. Nature is neutral good. Age is 32. Height is 6'11". Weight is 300. He's a German human god. A German god, basically. But he was born in Glasdale City, Imarel, Amarowite of Edgemere. And then he was taken to Falcon City, Falcon State of the USA, of Planet Zeth, of Solar System 10. He is a senator of Falcon State and king god of Amarowite, as well as a galactic class protector hero. So, that will all be explained later. Birth date is August the 26th. Astrological sign is Virgo. Blood type is B negative. Sexual orientation is heterosexual. Good orderly direction is his overall religion. And his secrets are likes taking naps on giant monsters' backs. And of the 3 men he killed, there's one good family member related to them. Whatever payment he gets from the Hero Guild, all of them get a 25% cut out of it, leaving him with 25% for himself. With them being actually a good family member, the money always goes to a good place, and it makes him look mad good in the public's eyes whenever they decide to link his name to donations, as well as helping them out generally if they ask for him. He is always a phone call away for the 3 ladies. His description is, hair color is black, short crop, naturally low cut and straight. He has a full beard. Eye colors, his right eye is azure with light azure rim. Left eye is bright green with a brighter green rim. Body type is buffed wrestler type. Heavyweight. Pale peach skin. Physical condition is built like a monster slayer and a contender, equally built in strength and speed. Marked scars and tattoos. Galtoz has a plethora of scars because of his adventures as a child, being a tank of a superhero and general forming. Most significant scar is the one on his chest that was delivered to him by Walgan when they were 17. Walgan all of a sudden teleported to his high school while Galtoz was running physical education tests at PE. Walgan appeared in the class, pushed out a force wave that put everyone on their feet except for other guys in the gym and Galtoz. He had a sword with him, but before Galtoz could summon a weapon, he slashed at him twice, cutting deep enough to leave a giant X on his chest. Then all of a sudden, leaves after talking shit. Galtoz couldn't find him in Edgemere for a long time afterwards, and he has no tattoos. Clothing, he keeps it macho and regular, always in some form gear when he's not in his multitude of political wear. Favorite colors to wear are whites, oranges, yellows, blacks, and reds. His favorite article of clothing are those magic wear shades that are solid chromatic red. From the screws to the lens to the arms, all chromatic red, in the shape of thick style aviators, keeping it hot and cool at the same time, usually after the heroes have foiled another villainous play. Everyone now knows that if Galtoz is deemed as the most helpful hero of the adventure, he will be rocking those shades. Even in his royal garbs, the House of Pruitt took advantage of making an incredibly silver embroidered white style royalty catalog millennia ago. Regardless of the entire family generally wearing it because they are in Edgemere, Every time he visited while growing up, it was a toss-up if he was going to remain dressed like a human or a god. It was sometimes a battle to get him to change clothes, but he was too busy trying to go on adventures. All those garbs ruin mudslide moments. And when it comes to his costume, technological, under the very old knight armor appearance, all white and all silver with a red cape that has a silver etched out hand reaching downward. The only other thing that's red on the costume are the bottom of his boots. He never fights with a helm, and he can pull his spear out of another dimension. His doll is invisible and sitting in a miniature form under the back of his cape. Let me change something real quick. Actually, let me go check, because I think Amara White, hand from above. Yeah, that was correct. So, the symbol of Amara White is a hand reaching downward, and it's like a hand reaching from heaven. Personality: likes Shveta, partying, food, good orderly direction, freedom, joy, heroism, the battlefield, bravery, justice, physical championships, paradise, booze, trips, keeping a course in the right direction, being a protector. Joan Hollerson, Nova Sanchez, and Amani Chatun. And the last three are the women connected to the men that he killed way back when. Dislikes: highly dissatisfied people, rude people, villains, the House of Ogodum, Walgan. And Walgan is a family member of the House of Ogodum. Fears: none really. Hobbies: farming, field games, arcade games, video games, bar games, puzzles in general, flying, floating, provoking joy, protecting, power training, martial arts training, weapon training, welcoming all new heroes to the fold, and making sure Shveta is okay. Goals: lengthening time to draw as long as possible before he has to choose Amara White or the city he really grew up in. Occupation: the city that he really grew up in is Falcon City. He's a senator of Falcon State, a king god of Amara White to be, and galactic class protected hero. Favorite food is beer. Update something real quick. Favorite food is beer. Least favorite food is none really. Most prized possession: the Amara White Knight. It's a tradition that the youngest son or daughter of the generation gets a protective doll known as Amara White Knight as a protector. It's a 5'5" doll that has a plethora of abilities that keep him a mystery to everyone else but the family and whoever they decide to tell. From invisibility to delivering messages to resurrecting to obliterating to safely coming up with a retreat plan and to sacrifice itself if need be. It's a master of all trades and has been fortified with enchants throughout eternity. It's the main protecting line of the youngest child, since the youngest child is usually the one voted into the head of the throne position every 100 years. The Amara White Knight is covered in white, non-glossy armor that feels like it's made out of white mithril. They have spiked helms all around with mostly a spiky set of armor that covers them from head to toe. There are female and male versions of the knights. Both tend to power up their armor orange when they are in combat mood so that the youngest child knows the status of the situation. All knights have 3 pairs of wings, 6 in total. I don't even know how I typed it. And I'm not going to tell you what I had typed. All of them are slender, but all of them provide mighty fast flight, with them being so small and Galtoz being damn near giant size. His knight couldn't carry him like he was before he hit puberty. The knights have psychic connections with their wielders and can only communicate with the family. It acknowledges everyone from allies to innocents to enemies, but will only telepathically talk to Galtoz. Lastly, Galtoz Knight usually uses the same spirit he uses as a weapon. The reason a knight is his most prized possession revolves around the fact when he finally met his parents at the age of 7. Because of the high war times, he missed out on some golden years with his parents, but they're immortal and he's immortal. All well now, but at that moment was when he met the Amara White Knight that will be his protector until he ages. They are spirit weapons and are usually forged with the spirits of elders that have long passed away, the ones that leave their spirit to be awakened at any time to protect the next line of Pruitts. Rest in a special place. Galtoz happened to get a guy from 17 generations before him by the name of Mockville Pruitt. Became his best friend like they generally do because it's family, but they bonded more severely than others have because of the high war times and Galtoz wanting to run them ventures. Instead of viewing his parents finally meeting him as daunting, there was a lot of information and responsibility placed on his head. He took it as a joyous opportunity. He already knew of Edgemere by their age, because kids are taught about the dimensions in preschool and kindergarten. He never thought he was going to end up as a prince and can come home whenever the night says it's green to come home. There he went. Couldn't stop him because he had a protector on top of already always having Shveta with him. Yet growing up, most family members lay their nights to rest. Not Galtoz. He is still running around with his knife, wreaking mad amounts of havoc, and Mockville wouldn't rather have it any other way. Instead of enjoying a very dreamlike state of an afterlife that never gets boring, he is seeing a world much different than the one he used to know, and Galtoz is a family member he wished he had when he chose to be alive. Vernacular, Martin Pruitt. Aptitude, IQ equals 144. Equally book smart and street smart. Brain is best geared to understand the fruits of labor and relaxation. Always ready to get his hands dirty and always ready to celebrate. Cultivating land, cultivating people, cultivating existence is very much at the front of his mind. Psychological condition. He's often caught in a catch-22 because he has two lands he governs over, one much bigger than the other, but deems them both as important because that's what he wants. Is born in a Pruitt blood that they birth leaders in every generation. He happens to be more proficient in it than his two brothers. Regardless of him being the youngest brother, he shows more promise as somebody that will keep the peace. Juggling heroism, Falcon State, and Amarat Nation takes up a lot of his time, but he will take a once-a-month trip to Nowheresville to ease the mental strain of always having to be strategic. Character behavior. Strategic, leader, intelligent, powerful, altruistic, and joyful. Relationships. Shveta. With Galtoz being adopted by her parents for royalty insurance reasons, these two have always known each other since they could ever remember. Inseparable since they could ever remember. They have always loved each other because their parents didn't ever allow them to ridicule each other and to the point of fighting. Besides, they told the two of them they were not related but kept Galtoz's actual identity a secret. When Galtoz found out he was a prince, when he saw Shveta again, he immediately asked her if she would be his princess. That was when they were 7 years of age. Since then, they had protected each other on and off the battlefield. Per the meaning of his existence as a family, they vowed to protect all 7 of the houses connected to the house of Shildzin. Then there's Walgen. Well, when I was making up the 25 villains of the story, I was like, it was a war in my head deciding on who got arch nemesis, and them people in that green row on the first pick were Roughhead, T.O.J. Morris, Galtoz, Crunch, Crisis. They all get arch nemesis, and ooh, I had a good time, and it ain't none of that dumbass bullshit that goes along with regular nemesis. They were actually born at the same time, just like Shveta. Galtoz, Shveta, and Walgen were all born on the same day. But moving right along, I could go on a real long tangent about how I decided to create Walgen, and you just have to wait till his characterization sheet. But Walgen is a son of the House of Ogham, one of the many rival houses of the House of Pruitt, as well as all of the houses around Edgemere. Walgen and Galtoz were oddly born around the same time and have been at odds with each other naturally because of the disdain between the families. Walgen's lineage has been at the head of the Walgen's lineage has been at the head of the thrones before, still to this day are trying to reclaim the throne. Galtoz deals with him every now and then, with fights that are quick to incredibly epic. Both of them do not believe in killing, but Walken believes in making sure he witnesses his family on the throne. They have eternity until one of them dies. They will be arch nemesis to each other. Social and other pressure problems. Will immediately initiate a confrontation if he sees Walken first. Has no qualms with talking in general public through his decisions with physical altercations or verbal altercations with him, since Walken does everything he can do to bring drama and distress to Galtoz's life. Falcon City knows their rivalry and their disdain for each other quite well. Beliefs and morals. Believes in the non-killing way. Over his course of heroism, he has only killed 3 people, mostly due to too much force in a situation, but will more than likely apprehend a criminal or villain. Galtoz also believes in cultivation. Everyone should be cultivating a homestead of peace. It's the best way to be a contributing member of society. Positive characteristics. Always in a good mood. Humbly righteous. An award-winning best partier. Negative characteristics. None really. And down to the background and current information. Origin. Martin made the cut. Birthplace. Glasdale City. Amarillo. Amar White of Edgemere. And he was immediately shipped off to Falcon City, Falcon State, USA of Planet Zeph and Solar System 10. And all of the know-how of birth certificate for the human world was made up and all of that stuff. And his family. Cresselia Minerva Pathos, the mother, 227 years old. Medovic Angelos Pruitt, father, 228 years old. Meldrivin Zenith Pruitt, older brother, 117 years old. Mythologos Trios Pruitt, middle brother, 87 years old. History. It wasn't the best circumstances all the way around how Cresselia and Medovic decided to have another child during high war times. Michelangelo unfortunately was created out of love at the wrong time, but has triumphed over 7 years of living without his actual parents. They sent him to the real world with one of the families of the 7, to be protected while the 7 protect the throne of Omar White. They were told to never tell him that his parents are still alive so he doesn't come running to look for him. Being a god or a goddess can have a child teleporting to their wish. Children of gods can simply interdimensional teleport at will. The last thing they need for him to know is for him to know that. If I could talk right, let me correct something real quick. The last thing they needed was for him to know that. And Michelangelo had 7 glorious years until his parents deemed it was time to tell him that he's a prince. And then everything blew up for the good after that. He was already a powerful super being by then, playing live games with boulders and somehow loved them well into his adulthood. But let's digress right back into his adventure mood. After being taken home, Michelangelo was hard-pressed to stay in the real world, so they had to make an agreement with him. He would get 1 weekend out of a month to come to Edgemere and be allowed to go anywhere under a very elusive alias. So elusive, nobody knew he was the 3rd prince to the throne until he turned 10. Then somehow still kept his head on his shoulders as he kept on venturing through Edgemere. Yet, Michelangelo was hard-pressed to be in the real world, too, because that's where he knew the longest. It was a toss-up where he wanted to go, but he always had his pretend sister-turned-girlfriend, Shveta, with him every which way because she loved the adventures too. These two were a pair for sore eyes, keeping it beautiful, but keeping it mighty as they tested their vessels because young bodies do not know how to stay still. Every year, always in some super being mess that dealt with monsters, mobs, criminals, horrible. Let me add an S to that. Horribles, villains, and the like. They were living a high life. They kept getting higher as they met some of their lifelong friends and acquired more and more power by the adventure. He had a doll guardian, the girl of his dreams, the status of a lifetime, and a macho-ness to protect himself. But the troubling parts began when he hit puberty. The wars for the thrones were getting more detrimental as more and more people died. His leash was summoned, and he couldn't hit them trips like he used to. At the tender age of 14, he told the House of Agodum to step up. He was waiting. Here came Walken. It was odd to him because he didn't know they had a child the exact same age as him. Walken stepped up. Then these two fought as hard as 14-year-olds could fight after setting boundaries to the fight. The boundaries had everyone around Edgemere tore up to the point other throne holders did the same exact thing, beckoning any folks that really want the throne to come watch the throne as they defend it. Big words all over the atmosphere of that beautiful planet, but all eyes on Michelangelo versus Walgan. It was all hand-to-hand combat as the two towering 14-year-olds made hay rain all over the circle they were scrapping in, trying to punch each other's lights out, but Michelangelo won. Kept winning until Walgan was finally unconscious and his god abilities wouldn't wake him up. The blow-up when Walgan finally laid on the ground with his eyes open, not moving and barely breathing, had his house acting up to the point the boundary disappeared and the swords came out. Barely escaping with his head on his shoulders, he watched his much older brothers protect him as well as the Knights of the Round Table. While his parents skedaddled so fast, he turned and said what he wanted to do was end the war, but they had to raise him to not kill. It's something they want. The House of Pruitt does not want to kill. I hate it when it happens. Give me a second. My laptop is old, so whenever I touch the sensor pad to scroll or something or move the mouse, it'll zoom in either direction depending on what I'm trying to scroll to. I mean move the mouse to. So the House of Pruitt does not want to kill. They do not want him to fill coffins. They do not want that karma on their blood. They had a long way to go because Michelangelo was so physically powerful he could knock out a god multiple times without much of a hitch. At that time, he felt like he should have killed him. At that time, he wished he had killed him. The rivalry afterwards kept testing the family bond he wanted to keep alive, as it was the toughest tug of war he ever had to deal with. 1, a few years, then 2, some more years, then 3. His parents and his brothers were saddened and ashamed he killed 3 people, but the rage in him was in the right place. A right place a lot of heroes do not mind going to at all, because peace is a heaven of a drug and he has heaven running through his ether system every second of the day. What he wants is the peace to be permanent, and any logical mind will say, off with their heads. Yet, there his doll went, finally talking sense into him, making him believe that his blood is of the holy nature, making him believe that he can right the many wrongs of the world without taking a life. His great uncle told him, believe me when I say, my rage will be on top. My life will be on top. Now tell yourself, I will not kill again. Say it, Michelangelo. The day before his 21st birthday, he was at the tallest tower of his castle in the sky. Saw nothing but clouds. He closed his eyes and said, I will not kill again. His great uncle told him to keep saying it, so he kept saying it over and over until the image of himself disappeared. He didn't know his great uncle looked exactly like him. Was never supposed to show him, never at all, but there he was floating outside the window of the tower, looking exactly like a 20-year-old Michelangelo. Same joyous eyes that held so much rage against the wicked. Same beard and mane as black as a space between stars. Same muscles all over his 7-foot frame. He kept saying it because his great uncle put the fear he needed to into Michelangelo's entire vessel to never take another life. So, I'm not really voice acting it the way that he said it to Michelangelo, but it was a very much tired of telling his kid what to do kind of uproar in his voice. Like, he said it with his chest and then some. So Michelangelo finally got it. And then it was then Michelangelo decided to go into politics so he can make sure the youth do not go into the treachery of hate that so many adults fall into. He even started addressing his nation even though he wasn't a king or had any time to be the next heir cause of his 2 older brothers. But because of that, his brothers realized that he has the galls to stand up for what's right. The way he was running things in the real world, and he wasn't even in office yet, gave him a lot of smooth bravery. Helping out other politicians move up in the game so he can take their reins had him looking solid as he went into college. At that period of his life was when he went to the Legend of Hollywood. That's when he got his code name of Galtoz. Young, fresh, and new by the ton, to the point he was pulling a mad high GPA and mad high heroism like sleep deprivation ain't shit to him. Hasn't lit up since. And the Legend of Hollywood. It's the legendary traveling tower that's a portal to a realm of high castles where a lot of legendary heroes retire. It's a dimension within Edgemere that makes everyone immortal when they get in until they leave. This place is where Galtoz and Shaveta got their code names because they were blessed by the old heroes from multiple millennia ago. They wore their code names first. Home, the Castle of Fate. Whew. Got an itch in my eye. The Castle of Fate. Primarily, because of his royal lineage, this would be considered his home. Due to the house wars that took place during his conception to birth, he was born then shipped off to the real world. The Castle of Fate looks like a huge silver, azure colored cone in the sky with a lovely castle built on the inside. Every brick and piece of wood was made from the tree of life, enchanting it in a very eternal way. It's the only reason why it floats at the same latitude and longitude as the planet of Edgemere rotates. Been airborne since the dawn of days of Edgemere and has belonged to only 4 houses throughout time. The current householders are the House of Pruitt. They have ruled over Amara benevolently for many millennia, but that doesn't keep other houses from wanting to take the throne for themselves, and regardless of the castle being in the sky, it was easily accessible and wars broke out throughout time. The peace was kept, but Galtoz didn't know of the castle until he was much older. On the inside, the trimming of the bricks, architecture, and wood were all lined with gold, turning it into an ivory golden castle on the inside with silver azure banners representing the nation's symbol of the hand from above. Galtoz's favorite spot on the castle is where the Eastern Fleet's port is, where all of the cavalry and visitors' point of entry and exit is, only accepting people on winged beings or small flight vessels. It's right next to 2 sets of benches where people can sit and look down at the land. There are safe winds underneath them that keep people floating, that extend out to all of the yellow air and enchants to keep people from wandering out too far. Every time one of his heroic peeps comes through, whenever they are done with their business or adventures, he will force them to come hang out while they float and decompress from the atrocities of being a hero, of being heroes. In the real world, he has a 2-story slum home that has a yard on one side, a pool on the other, and a huge backyard with many shelters for his farming. Him and Shaveta have this as their home because the smaller it is, the better he looks as a politician. They get no slack for being a minimalist while keeping Falcon State right in the eyes of the world. Possessions. Healing Archangel. This is the name of his celestial forged spear that looks like a white glowing crystal that emits the colors of yellow and blue. It has a spear anchor type head and built for more slashing and wider stabs. The curve of the blade is almost giant like an arch, but is railed in to a beautiful serpent-like pattern all the way to the hilt. The crystallized blade is always moving, which keeps it from getting stuck inside of anything with or without armor on. It's 8 feet in length, built specifically for its massive height. The hilt is in a yellow and blue ethereal leather with 2 matching dragon orbs of yellow and blue. The healing in its name means that it heals the wielder, giving the wielder a huge edge on the battlefield while wielding it, on top of his superpower and his natural vessel. Healing already comes easy for him, but to make him more godlike. And plurals, I have a problem with not making certain words plural and then ruining other words by making them plural. So I'm going to look into that when I talk to my psychologist tomorrow. Alright, moving right along. On top of his superpower and his natural vessel, healing already comes easy for him, but to make him more godlike, he went with this spear so he can always be the last man on the battlefield. Pets. He has a hive of bees, several chickens, a golden Labrador, some sheep, a German shepherd, a group of pigs, and a family of goats. Just a small farm's worth of pets. Abilities. Physical. Making good use out of his youth had Galtoz being able to lift up people of his same weight class with ease. Shotoken and Bull are a great combination of fighting techniques, but adding Sambo, Judo, Wrestler, Grappler to his repertoire is the reason why he can always be seen manhandling 2 at the same time. His lift game is overpowered, but this all contributed to bolder workouts even as a child. Taking every opportunity during breaks to lift up something heavy is one of his secrets to his strength. From walking through parking decks and doing 10 curls from the back or fronts of vehicles, fills out meaty lunches. Lastly, he also trains like a track and field Olympian that touches all sports within the stadium. This helps him switch up his tactics when it comes down to hand-to-hand combat and applying speedy pressure. Magical. Water mastery. All heaven wielders have access to this primary elemental superpower. He's capable of filling vicinities with water quite quickly because the portal aspect of heaven allows him to create an open floodgate kind of situations, forcing people to take flight or fight in a few feet of water. Unrealistically, his movement through water is increased, allowing him to make the same haymakers out of water in. His favorite way of using water is using its density to add more power to his attack and lift game. Then there's armor and wings of heaven. This ability gives Galtoz armored wings like the Knights of Amarwad in his doll weapon. He has 3 sets of wings that all move differently. These wings give him a significant boost in energy using and manipulation, making his attacks 3 times as powerful. All of this provided by the ethereal might. And he can also summon the wings without the armor. So sometimes you'll see him in public and he'll have like his 6 wings, because he's one of the heroes that doesn't care about his alter ego and his actual lifestyle meshing. And that's also one of the reasons why he's the senator of Falcon State. But there's a lot of heroes that don't do that, and for like safety reasons, the words Scaros and Dalizzle, because they are doctors and they are instructors, professors at a very grand college, they have to cover their faces when they're on the battlefield. But for Galtoz, not so much, because he's also a god and a senator. So if with transparency with him helps him keep the position of the senator and look good in people's eyes and whatnot. So if you see him out there with the wings, it's because he can. Flight comes with the superpower of heaven. He can fly in all directions like hummingbirds. Interdimensional teleportation. Because of his god blood, he could teleport between dimensions once every hour. Otherwise, he would have to use one of their natural ways of teleporting between worlds. And there are a lot of ways to teleport between the dimensions and the real world. But Edgemer can be teleported to from any other galaxies at any point in the universe. The other galaxies are specific to certain. The other dimensions are specific to certain galaxies. So the only way to get to, let me see. First dimension 1, descendants. Oh wow, I guess I don't have it right there. So I have it right here. So Leo Yellow is only accessible through Galaxy 5. Rex Plane is only accessible through Galaxy 3. Luigi, Galaxy 10, Los Navig, Galaxy 7, Relchi, Galaxy 11, Osaros, Galaxy 12, like that. Let's see. And then you have the exact teleportation, because of his god of blood. He can teleport exactly where he desires once every 30 minutes within that plane of existence. So once he reaches a certain plane of existence, he can teleport anywhere in that place over a great amount of distance, and that great amount of distance is limitless. But if he goes over a certain limit, he can't teleport again. So unlike portal wielders, he can't teleport all the time, but he can teleport from like if he was battling, he'll be able to teleport like 25 feet back to back. That's easy. But teleporting like millions of miles once, you can't do them. And there's really nothing else in the dimensions except for other solar systems. But those other solar systems, like, they don't really have Well, actually, they really do. Scientists and stuff in the other dimensions, they go around looking at the different dimensions and things, and they have space voyages in the other dimensions and whatnot, and they go out and look throughout the universes as much as possible in another dimensions, but they haven't really manned another solar system in any of the dimensions yet. In Edgemere, that's not really a thing because it's the four moons that created that universe, and the four moons just want intelligent life forms on the planet of Edgemere, if that makes any sense. But universal language. Heaven provides wielders with a sense of universal language. All they have to do is enchant an immediate atmosphere with the sensation of ultimate understanding, and they can hear and read all things in a native tongue as well as speaking another's native tongue. Projectile mastery. Galtoz is one of the mightiest heroes of all time that has wielded a spear. It's because he turns his spear into a nuke when he's out on the battlefield. It's mostly how he uses his projectile powers, turning his spear into a full-on movable spear of light. The size of it ranges from how much power he puts into it. He can keep it concentrated detrimentally at the original spear's size or make it as big as an elephant in height quickly. Other means of using projectiles comes in throwers, rays, beams, and orbs, courtesy of water mastery. Either way, he mostly uses the spear to release his projectiles. Heaven's Spear. He can turn a region up to 5 miles and teleport an entire range of specific enemies to a plane in heaven. Once done battling in that zone or he is rendered unconscious, the portal wears off and instantly places everyone back in the zone they came from, usually a few feet above ground, but he uses this mostly to keep Purge from having to clean up another battle, as well as respecting the general way of life of the real world or the dimensions. Compelling factor. When looking into his eyes, his loveliness in general is so gentle, it's like an automatic compel. Had many hands into why he's a politician, but when actually activating it, he can get even strong-willed people to do what he said, do what he says. With the in-between-the-lines information because of an imbuing effect of taking his exact thoughts and putting them on a vessel, he's compelling. Healing. Galtoz can heal people by hitting them with a burst of energy, a ray of light, or if they are in his radius of healing. He can heal wounds, poison, attrition, mental, and endurance. Then, his transformation. He can transform into an angel. His angel form is white-winged and white glow. Wing type, angel wings, 3 pairs. Wingspan is 15 feet. Halo is golden. Weaknesses. Hell, as a superpower, is his main weakness. Its anti-holy energy decreases all of the ethereal might Galtoz possesses. Other weaknesses involve electricity, dark, sorcery, magistry, hexing, and fantasy. Anything possessing dark connotations is very harmful to heaven wielders. And that will be Galtoz's characterization sheet, and I hope you understand everything about him. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. I can answer anything about the Tri-Stone Era because I am the Tri-Stone Era. Holla at me. Anyway, until the next time, keep it gentle, and you will get another characterization sheet soon. And I'm almost finished, which means I can start drawing, developing and drawing what the characters look like, and that's what I'm really anticipating getting to because I haven't drawn in a long time. But I did draw those Jinjos, but those are just tracing somebody else's idea and adding a little bit of different lines to it, like the spray can for the fantasy file I just did, and that'll be coming some other time. But Galtoz is okay. Chapter 1, when Crunch makes the call to assemble a team, he is in the real world, and he's taking his monthly Nowhere's Will trip, and he's somewhere doing something. And when Crunch sends out an assemble a team message, he sends that message to absolutely everybody in the story that's a hero. Every last one of them, because Crunch knows every single one of the characters, right? And Galtoz and Shveta, they on a beach somewhere, and it's beautiful, and they got all of this like beautiful light in the atmosphere, and Shveta got her little glass of hard liquor, and Galtoz has his 6-pack of beer, and they just chilling, having a good time, and then they get the message, and they be like, you know what? Because it's this kind of mission, we should go do it. So they use the what's it? What I called it? Exact teleportation, and go to where he is, and they get ready to go on a mission with him. So that's what kind of person he is. Even though he'll be celebrating and relaxing, he'll still choose heroism. But no, I'll let y'all later. Mwah.